Al Green.
Okay.
I'm so in love with you. Oh, whatever you want to do.
Shut the fuck up! Hey! Come on, Tony.
It's all right with me. Cause you.
Oh, thank you.
You need to leave?
No, bitch.
Okay.
24 hours after his show was suddenly pulled from ABC after a threat from Trump's administration. And tonight, Trump making it clear he is not done. The president is now threatening more networks.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
All right, he mentioned Brendan Carr. We're going to hear in a moment from another FCC commissioner who serves with Carr. She says the FCC doesn't have the authority to do this, but the harsh reality tonight is that they didn't actually even need the authority to get Trump what he wanted, silencing comedian Jimmy Kimmel. If you are surprised at what has happened, maybe it is because you took the president, the vice president, and the chairman of the FCC at their word when Trump came into office.
If you don't have free speech, you don't have a country.
Thank God we have a president now who believes in free speech.
Free speech, diversity of opinion, those are the bedrocks of democracy.
That last person to speak, of course, was Brendan Carr, the very same man who made this threat this week after Kimmel's comments regarding Charlie Kirk.
They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Threats obviously don't get more clear than that. And that threat is a real about face from a man, Brendan Carr, who in December of 2023 wrote, and I want to quote him, "Free speech is the counterweight. It is the check on government control. That is why censorship is the authoritarian's dream." Okay, so then what sparked Carr's sudden threat against ABC over Kimmel? It was this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So that's what it was. From what Carr was saying, that's what it was that Kimmel said that was worth a threat to ABC, get rid of Kimmel or else. And sure, free speech is free speech. This is America. But Kimmel's words aren't some hate-filled diatribe. They're frankly not even this.
Now you're going for the kill shot. The kill shot with an ambush, deadly, because he doesn't see it coming. This is when you say, Dr. Fauci, you funded risky research at a sloppy Chinese lab, the same lab that sprung this pandemic on the world. You know why people don't trust you, don't you? Boom! He is dead. He is dead. He's done.
That was Fox's Jesse Waters in December 2021, trying to be funny. A month later, Waters got promoted. And after the brutal attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, in which he was attacked by a man with a hammer, Pelosi's skull was fractured, he was in the hospital. There was a lot of really ugly rhetoric and conspiracy theories coming from the right at the time.
At 82 years old, and comes home to find out that her husband's playing hide the hammer with a Black Lives Matter guy?
Well, of course we can't confirm or deny your suggestion.
It's MAGA extremists behind this because they always attract illegal alien nudists who live in school buses who think they're Jesus Christ. Hell.
And there was also Don Jr. He posted this image after Pelosi was attacked. Got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready, right? And you see the link there to the sexual jokes that you heard before. And Elon Musk, 2 days after he bought Twitter, posted a conspiracy theory about the attack on Paul Pelosi. There is a tiny possibility There might be more to this story than meets the eye. He linked to an article that claimed the attack was the result of a drunken sexual encounter with a male prostitute. Now, of course, none of this was based in fact. The government, though, didn't try to get people fired because, after all, free speech, tasteless, gross, crass, awful, so what? Free speech. So what is this silencing Kimmel all about? Because it's not about that one thing he said this week. It's not. I mean, after CBS announced it was canceling Stephen Colbert's show, Trump predicted Kimmel would be next. Quite simply, Trump has been a bit obsessed with Kimmel.
Kimmel has no talent.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel's a loser. I saw Jimmy Kimmel said that his show's practically dead because nobody that likes Trump will watch.
Jimmy Kimmel. That guy's terrible.
Those clips of Trump go back 7 years. And tonight, Trump, using the power of the office of the President of the United States, finally got what he wanted. And I want to start with Elizabeth Wagmeister in Los Angeles. She has been breaking so much news on this story. And Elizabeth, what is the latest you're learning tonight?
Hey, Aaron, so I am hearing really how this went down at Disney and ABC. And, you know, everyone that I am talking to in Hollywood is really just horrified over this entire situation. They cannot believe that Jimmy Kimmel has been pulled off the air. But what I am hearing is that ABC is very hopeful. They really want to figure out a path forward. They love Jimmy. They want Jimmy to come back. But with the threats from the FCC, this is a real threat to have stations that are pulling Jimmy's show across the country. They just felt like they had no choice, that in order to protect both Jimmy and the ABC brand, that they felt the best path forward was to preempt the show indefinitely. Now, I am hearing that the decision ultimately was made by Bob Iger and Dana Walden. I hear that Dana Walden has a great relationship that goes way back with Jimmy Kimmel. She was the one who made that call to him. Now, after Jimmy's comments on Monday and Tuesday during his show were getting heat from the right, that is when this got onto Disney's radar. But again, it was when Brendan Carr started to make those remarks and making threats against ABC. And it is when Nexstar started to say, we are refusing to air the show, that this really escalated and became a major issue. One source explained to me that this is much bigger than just Jimmy Kimmel's show, that this is about all of ABC and really protecting all of ABC and all of its employees. Now, I do want to note, Aaron, you said that this is not just about those comments, and that is what I am hearing. In fact, I will finish on this final point. Trump took to his Truth Social today, and I believe we have that post, and he actually went all the way back to the Oscars from 2 years ago when Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about him on stage, and Trump seized on that. So this is a long-standing history of jabs and a public feud between Trump and Jimmy Kimmel. Everyone that I'm talking to in Hollywood said it's not just about the comments this week, it's about years and years of insults. Aaron?
Elizabeth, thank you so much. Out front now, FCC Commissioner Ana Gomez. And Commissioner, I appreciate your time. So President Trump today comes out, you heard him. He suggests that networks' licenses, their right to actually broadcast over the air, could be pulled and revoked if they air mostly negative coverage of him. Mm-hmm. So if he comes out and says 5 untrue things and they call out 3 of them, then that's on them. I mean, it's unclear exactly what he's saying, but he did say it will be up to Brendan Carr, obviously chairman of the FCC. Is this something the FCC could actually do?
Well, first of all, we don't license the networks. We license local broadcasters. So there is no license to pull for the networks. The local broadcasters get some programming from the networks. But second of all, we are governed by the First Amendment and by the Communications Act, which prohibits us from censoring broadcasters. So no, we cannot pull local broadcasters' licenses simply because they air content that he does not like.
Okay, so then I guess the question is, where do we go from here? I mean, have you spoken with Carr since last night?
I've been in New York today, as you know. The thing that we need to understand is that the FCC cannot, it does not have the authority, it does not have the ability, it does not have the constitutional right to take action against broadcasters because the administration doesn't like what they're saying, because they don't like anyone that pushes back against them. So what you see are just threats, but the threats are the point.
And the threat, in this case, the threats worked, right? Do it the easy way or the hard way, or, you know, I guess the sensible threat is we're not going to approve your merger at the FCC.
That's exactly the point. Because we don't have the authority to do this, because it's against the law, we would not be able to actually take that final action. Because on appeal, the FCC would be wrong on the facts and the law if, in fact, it retaliated against the networks, or, I mean, the broadcasters, the local licensees, because of what they air. So the threats are the point, and the capitulation is so disappointing, because what we are doing is eroding little by little the freedom of the press, the freedom of speech, on which our democracy relies. We need the fourth estate to push back against the likes of me, to hold me and the government to account.
You know, I started off by saying in my post, as I alluded to here, I wasn't a fan, I wasn't a fan. And certainly whenever he talked about race and things within our community, but I wholeheartedly could look at him and watch him shoot down the transgender thing all day. I don't necessarily agree with his stance on abortion. It's a woman's right to do whatever she wants. I didn't agree with his stance on gun control. So the only thing I agreed with him on was the transgender thing. And, you know, again, what happened to him shouldn't have happened. You should be able to voice your opinions without your life being cut short due to murder, assassination. And there were people that were celebrating, which I think is wrong. And we kind of mentioned it last night, where I told you that a lot of people were going, while I don't celebrate his death, I also am not mourning him. And you said that was fair. And I think that is fair, because, you know, as this thing is unfolding, there are so many clips online, and you know, people cut together like compilations of things that he said, which when you take a step back and look at it, you go, dude wasn't really a good dude. And I want to play two clips that kind of expand on that.
By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. By the way, I would totally tune into.
Ari Spears went in immediately, calling Kirk's spirit not in the right place, which is the podcast version of saying someone's soul failed its annual emissions test. He laid out Kirk's greatest hits of verbal disasters: black people supposedly better off enslaved, black women supposedly with less.
The news, their show was suspended indefinitely. The news coming just 3 days after the late night host made some controversial comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
There's intense reaction to Jimmy Kimmel's sudden suspension. His show off the air indefinitely.
They should have fired him a long time ago.
President Trump today bashing Kimmel from London.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk.
On social media, the president went further, calling on NBC to fire their late-night comics. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC.
It's eerily quiet outside Jimmy Kimmel's studio here in Hollywood today. The banners are still up, but no sign of any production staff or any crowds. When ABC pulled the plug last night, it came as a huge surprise to everyone.
Tonight we've got Wanda Sykes, Jay Shetty, and Chef Christian Petroni.
That was Kimmel earlier in the day, promoting his Wednesday night show. Then around 7 p.m. came word that the show would not go on. Kimmel, in a plaid shirt, and his wife, who also works on the show, were seen leaving the studio. And that's his sidekick, Guillermo, getting in his car. The The crew, looking shell-shocked, loaded equipment into trucks.
It's time for Celebrity Family Feud!
This is what the TV audience saw instead of Kimmel, a game show.
I was supposed to go over and have a chat with my friend Jimmy Kimmel.
Comedian Wanda Sykes went on social media in full makeup and camera ready and blamed the president.
He didn't end the Ukraine war or solve Gaza within his first week, but he did end freedom of speech. Love you, Jimmy.
So what did Kimmel say that led to his suspension?
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The comment sparked outcry in MAGA world.
Hate to tell you, buddy, but the guy who shot and killed Charlie Kirk was more likely a fan of yours.
On Wednesday, the chairman of the FCC, Trump appointee Brendan Carr, urged local ABC affiliates to push back against Kimmel.
It's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities.
Shortly after that interview, two huge broadcasting companies, Nexstar and Sinclair, announced they were shelving Jimmy Kimmel Live on their ABC stations. Sinclair said they would not lift the suspension until Kimmel issues a direct apology to the Kirk family and makes a meaningful personal donation to the Kirk family and Turning Point USA. Democrats are crying foul.
This is what dictators do. This is what Xi would do. This is what Putin would do. We are not that country.
It should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians who make fun of him.
America is a less free place if late night comedians are not able to say and do what they want, to be able to satirize the American president, to be able to speak out about his conduct.
But the ladies of ABC's The View steered clear of the controversy, even if it was the hot topic of the day. And no reaction yet from Jimmy Kimmel himself, but many are pointing to what he wrote on social media right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Instead of the angry finger-pointing, can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence.
The caption, all his wishes came true. He goes, I think an execution should be public, it should be quick, and it should be televised. If this ain't irony, I don't know what is. Yours was quick, televised, and what was the other thing he said? It should be quick, televised, and whatever the third thing he said is. Yeah, he fit all three of those.
Except he wasn't convicted of a crime.
He wasn't executed, he was assassinated. But
Somebody basically said, pick whatever saying you want. You reap what you sow. Chickens coming home to roost. You die on that hill. He put so much out to the universe in terms of what people were saying was negativity. And some might use the word evil. That it just seemed like, how ironic.
See, I have a completely different take. I think that today, if you could talk to Charlie Kirk, he still stands by his gun control argument, his gun argument, the Second Amendment.
He would be race baiting this, or
he said
he would be stoking the fires right now.
Well, I don't want to misquote him, but he said something to the fact of gun violence should happen. God, what did he say?
It's going to happen. Just
no, I want the actual quote. He said something about there should be gun deaths.
Sometimes there has to be gun
collateral
deaths
damage
because to codify the Second Amendment, basically.
Okay, so there was a cartoon where he's standing in heaven, and there's a bunch of little kids in front of him with red dots, meaning bullet holes, and they're quoting his quote back to him as he stands in front of them with a bullet hole, red dot on his neck.
Then came the gun control irony, the elephant in the room that brought its own shotgun. Kirk had long insisted gun deaths were an inevitable price for freedom, and that sometimes there has to be gun death. Unfortunately, his own assassination by rifle seemed to audition as Exhibit A. Aries noted the cruel symmetry. Andy countered that Kirk would probably still stand by his words. It was a debate so circular it could have qualified as a hula hoop.
But I still think that he believes in that. I think he believes in it because we can say this. And listen, I don't know where I stand on gun control. I really don't. I would like to be more educated before I say anything because it is different. The gun that he was killed with wouldn't have been in any gun control laws. It was a long gun. It was a hunting rifle. It can be used for hunting. It's
Does
long.
it make a difference if a scope is on it or not?
No.
Oh.
So that is not that wouldn't fall under that. But my point is that I think that he would say he said what he meant, and I think that he knew very well that he could be someone. He's had death threats. I'm sure that he knew that he could be one of those people, but he still said it, and I think he meant it. His life wasn't above the laws of the land. That he believed in the Constitution, and that he was not above it. That if he was one of the people to be taken out.
Yeah, it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. He's not saying that people need to be shot.
He said, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, of course, if you're going to have guns, there's going to be guns deaths. And to be honest, at least he's being honest about it. But
well, listen, I'm not. I don't want to. I'm not minimizing. When you see a child that unnecessarily dies, it's a horrible, horrible thing, and it's a gun death, and you go, that's horrible. More children are killed in car accidents throughout this country. I'm not saying, but no one's going to yell at. We need to get rid of cars.
Yeah,
Everybody, we should only have trains.
Cars, but you can put tons of safety precautions on them.
You know what? But I'm sorry, it's not in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution, codified in the Constitution, that we have a right to those guns.
But car accidents are just that. Accidents.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting into a car going, I'm going to mow down a school full of kids. Somebody is going, I'm going to grab my gun, I'm going to go into a school and deliberately kill kids.
Okay.
What made the podcast fascinating wasn't just the disagreement over Kirk's statements. It was the raw, jagged discomfort over what to do with a figure like him after death. Aries rejected celebrating or mourning, landing somewhere in the Switzerland of emotions. Andy seemed more willing to acknowledge Kirk's debate skills, even while not defending his most toxic takes. It was less about who won and more about how they both limped out of the minefield without losing limbs.
Back in the day when I was on the prime time of Fox and you were on the prime time of CNN, a couple of hours after our shows ended, late night comics would come on, and they occasionally would make us laugh, Piers. I mean, occasionally they understood that they were in the game of making everyone laugh. As you know, they've abandoned that game now, and they're just political operatives out there. Colbert, Kimmel, Seth Meyers, who I struggle to even mention that guy's name. He's such an absolute prick. I can't stand him. But anyway, it's just my thought bubble out loud. We took a look at some of their reactions to the news of Trump's win. Look at this.
Hey there. How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate. It was a terrible night for poor people, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
Said he would be a dictator on day one. The question now is, what will the rest of us be doing on day one? Right? Now's the time to stand in solidarity with our friends, with our neighbors.
Well, it happened again. And in this democracy, the majority has spoken, and they said they don't care that much about democracy. The first time Donald Trump was elected, he started as a joke and ended as a tragedy. This time he starts as a tragedy. Who knows what he'll end as?
Any comforting words for them, Piers?
Just get over yourselves. Honestly, it's so pathetic watching grown men weep, because actually the real reason they're weeping is that they know they've spent years over-demonizing Trump as the new Hitler, and he's going to wreck everything and wreck America. He's terrible. He's a fascist. He's a neo-Nazi, blah, 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 blah. And what happened this week? America, having already seen Trump as president for 4 years and seen 4 years of what then followed under Biden and Harris, they went out in record numbers, white, black, Latino, men, women, all demographics, and they voted for apparently the new Hitler. In other words, they didn't believe a word of what these guys were saying. And I would say further, Megyn, what the hell happened in late night in America? When Johnny Carson was the king of late night, nobody knew who he voted for. Nobody knew. He made a point of mocking both sides. Jay Leno said yesterday, he said, I don't like Trump, but it was a great week for democracy. And salute to Jay Leno. I interviewed him last year about this. He doesn't understand why these late night guys want to be so obviously partisan. Why? And they're all partisan one way. And there's a reason why Greg Gutfeld is kicking all their backsides in late night on Fox. And it's because he's genuinely funny. He's a comedian. These guys think they're sort of preaching to some weird choir that wants them to be terribly serious and take all this very personally when their guy or woman in this case doesn't win an election. We don't give a stuff. Just be funny. And one of the things that I don't watch any of them anymore, but I see the clips. They're so worthy. The virtue signaling is so pathetic. Get over yourselves and go back to being funny. I think the ship has sailed for these guys. And it's interesting, isn't it? They talk about inclusion and diversity and all that thing. They're all middle-aged white guys. Have you noticed? All of them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But my advice is, if you believe in diversity, get a few more diverse people in there who can actually make me laugh.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, what they want with that virtue signaling is for you to rub their belly. They want the leftist elites to rub their little pupper bellies. That's what they're looking for. Please rub my pupper belly. Oh, it feels so good. I'm so much better than everybody else, those losers who voted for that evil man Trump. And you see it in the comment by Colbert. And it was also a terrible night for you people who voted for him. You're basically just too stupid to know it then. I mean, he said, you just don't realize it yet. Like, you're not smart like I am.
No, it's so delusional and so patronizing. And he sort of assumed everyone's had a bad night. Hey, Stephen, buddy, over 70 million people voted Trump. Massively more voted for Trump than voted for your girl, Kamala. And you know what? That means most Americans are not feeling like you. They're not. They're feeling happy because their person won. And the reason their person won is because this whole, as Elon Musk calls it, the woke mind virus has actually, I think, with this election result, been eradicated. We found a cure.
That's true.
And the cure is Donald Trump backed by Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and these other guys who actually, Rogan and Musk both used to be Democrats, really, but they just got sick and tired of the progressive left and this woke mentality, which is the kind of thing which not only tolerates but actively encourages biological men to beat up women in boxing rings in the Olympics. It's that mentality which I think this election result has literally shown the world it's over. People don't want to have this crap anymore.
I put myself in that same category. I used to be more on the left, socially at least, and it was the woke mind virus that completely destroyed that for me. And became much more active on these social issues once they started hurting our children and ruining people's careers. You speak of the white middle-aged men who are lecturing us about diversity and so on. I got another one for you. His name is Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC. Take a listen to Top 14.
Oh, my God.
When he was editor of the newspaper, The North Star, Frederick Douglass wrote, "We hold woman to be justly entitled to all we claim for man." That was a very unpopular opinion among white men in this country at that time, and it remains an unpopular opinion among some white men in this country to this day. It may be that not enough people in this country yet believe in the full equality of women to elect a woman president of the United States.
about his death, especially minority communities. Black people are better off as slaves. Black women have less brain processing power, which is crazy because we're the highest educated demographic in the country, by the way. 10-year-olds should have to give birth to their rapist babies. Execution should be public, quick, and televised. And children should be able to watch. Black people are only in high-up positions because of affirmative action, not because they are qualified. He called George Floyd a scumbag who is unworthy of the attention he's receiving. He said that gun deaths are an inevitable price worth paying to safeguard the Second Amendment. He told Taylor Swift that she needs to submit to her husband. He said transgenderism is a mental disorder. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He called Islam a danger to the United States. He said Jewish communities have been pushing hatred against whites. And there's many, many more.
So again, this is why people are like, Stu was a piece of shit.
If you just take those little snippets out of what he said, though, of course you're going to get some fucked up shit.
That's the problem that is you're seeing this is white nationalism, a little bit white supremacy wrapped up nicely with a suit and a smile. He's telling you all those things, but he's also doing it in a nice
No, it's not just a nice way because those things are snippets of what his whole conversation is.
Okay, whoa.
Right,
So wait, why you do that? So are you saying that we needed to hear the whole quotes to think of them differently or see them differently?
I hope that he's qualified, a black pilot. He was talking about especially that if you use DEI and people know that black people are getting jobs because specifically over anyone else because of it and underqualified, that isn't going to make you uncomfortable, or that you have black pilots, there's no DEI, and you know that they got the job just because of that.
The conversation veered briefly into Kirk's lack of a college degree, which Aries found ironic, given Kirk's habit of belittling Ivy League graduates. If credibility were a credit card, Kirk would have been swiping a library card while mocking people holding black Amex. But Andy defended Kirk's intelligence, even if uncredentialed, pointing out that smart people don't need diplomas to cause chaos.
And somebody had a nice retort to that, talking about their brain power. All of them either graduated from Harvard, Yale. You know where he graduated from? Harper College.
Who?
I don't even think he went to college.
He didn't go to college.
Charlie Kirk.
He didn't go to college.
Harper, somebody said Harper College.
He never graduated.
He might have.
Say that part again.
He never graduated.
He never graduated.
He talks about it. That's one of his talking points.
Okay, so what right does he have to say to women who have graduated from Harvard and Yale their brain power, and you didn't even finish?
As far as I know, he didn't even go. He started a foundation.
You're not making the argument better.
Well, it doesn't matter if he went or not. The dude is clearly really smart.
But no, here's what I'm talking about. Let me get to what I just said. Here you are, talking about women who just happen to be of color, coincidence, with low IQs. You didn't even finish college if you even went. So I don't need to see the chunks in the milk to know it's bad. I can smell it.
He said during the open monologue. Here's that clip.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Okay, so now he is off the air, and some people are up in arms about this, calling it cancel culture or hypocrisy from the right, and some confusion around freedom of speech. So let's try and unpack all of this tonight. Where to start? So first, Jimmy Kimmel works for ABC. Why does that matter? Well, ABC, just like NBC and CBS, they are on public airways. So all you need is the rabbit ears to tune in. That means that they kind of play by different rules than the cable news networks that you have to pay for, like Fox News, CNN, Newsmax, etc. Today, the FCC chairman explained that on CNBC when he said this.
Broadcast TV is different. We're on a cable show right now. You don't have an FCC license. You don't have an obligation to serve the public interest. Podcasts don't either. Stand-up comedians, whether they're on lots of forms of communications, don't. And Kimmel is free to do that. But if you have a broadcast TV license, that means that you have something that very few people have. And you're excluding other people from having access to that valuable public resource. And it comes with an obligation to serve the public interest.
So, because Kimmel said what he said on ABC, he is held to a different standard than the stuff you see on, I don't know, Fox News. And there's no shortage of hot takes on that station. One of their anchors, Jesse Waters, said this when commenting on Charlie Kirk's assassination.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate?
Now, you may see both of these people as influential voices sharing similar messages of accusation and division. But again, only Kimmel works for a network on public airways, held to account by the FCC. Here is another clip from the FCC chairman basically saying if ABC didn't drop Kimmel, he would.
But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC.
This is just the latest installment of the Trump administration threatening the big broadcasters. Last month, he posted on Truth Social saying ABC and NBC should lose their licenses. But before the FCC could act, Kimmel was already dropped. But not by ABC, not at first. It was actually Nexstar that made the first move. Who is Nexstar? Well, they are one of the biggest media companies in the country. They own 200 stations nationwide. Some of them are ABC stations, some are NBC, some are CBS. They actually own the CBS station right here in Raleigh. Across the country, Nexstar can reach about 68 to 70% of U.S. households. This is kind of something that most people don't really think about or understand when it comes to your local news. You see, ABC doesn't own or operate every local ABC station in the country. Most of them are owned by massive, publicly traded media ownership groups, and Nexstar is the biggest one. Here is a list of the top 5. For instance, WRAL is on NBC and Fox, right? But we aren't run by NBC or Fox. We are owned by a Raleigh company, Capital Broadcasting, and we have a mutual relationship with those networks. We give them the airways to access the people here in the Triangle, and they give us the big national programs to drive viewership and advertising. Why am I telling you all this? Well, hours before ABC announced that Kimmel was getting pulled, Nexstar pulled him first. Of Nexstar's 200 stations, 32 of them are ABC stations. Again, why exactly does that matter? Well, because Nexstar is trying to buy one of the other top 5 media companies, Tegna, which is pretty much a done deal, except they still need that FCC approval. Now, the speculation is if Nexstar moves against Kimmel, that will make the White House happy and then better their chances of getting that approval. Again, there is no proof to this claim. And I only bring it up because we just went through this with Stephen Colbert. He was also famously critical of the president, and his show was canceled just before the FCC approved Paramount's merger with Skydance Media. People accused Paramount of playing similar politics. But again, these are just accusations. The people making them say they are just following the money. But let's keep following it. Yes, Colbert was the #1 late night host, but that title means a lot less this year than it did last year and the year before and the year before. These shows have big staffs, the famous hosts have big salaries, and the ad revenue has not been keeping up over the past years. This is a trajectory that has been felt by every late night show, including Kimmel's. Business Insider reported advertiser spending on late night shows has been cut in half over the past 6 years, from $439 million in 2018 to $221 million in 2024. That is a pretty steep drop. So, what do you think? Is this about presidential power, money, business, politics? All of the above. It is worth thinking about. But I will say this. Freedom of speech is the First Amendment. That protects you from government censorship, arrests or fines, but it doesn't mean you have a free pass to say whatever you want without consequences. Everybody has a boss. If you work for a company, you represent that company and its values and its coworkers and its goals. And if you say something that doesn't align with those values and those goals, the boss can fire you. If you are the boss, you still have a boss. It's your customers. Look at Bud Light, a recent famous example. What happened? They partnered with a transgender influencer, and the response was a huge wave of conservatives then boycotting Bud Light. In 1 month, sales tanked, and they lost nearly $1.5 billion. So what did Anheuser-Busch do? Well, they wanted to appease the people who weren't buying their beer anymore. So they pivoted entirely. They toned down the activist and LGBTQ support. They hired famous comedian Shane Gillis, a man who was once canceled, fired by SNL for old jokes that some people thought were racist and homophobic. Fast forward a few years, Bud Light is back. Gillis is huge, and he even hosted SNL, the place that fired him. Both back from cancellation because, well, money, business, politics, maybe in that order. But what does any of this have to do with you and your life and your job and your family? I know what it means to me, what I think, but I'm more interested in what you think about this. So let's keep this conversation going. Send me an email, dan@wral.com. I want to hear from you. Your thoughts, your input. All the intelligent viewers out there always help drive this segment. This is a complicated issue. There is a lot to talk about here. And I wonder if there is a piece of this you think we should be talking more about. Tell me what's on your mind, and we will go in depth.
Al Green. Okay. I'm so in love with you. Oh, whatever you want to do. Shut the fuck up! Hey! What, Tony? It's all right with me.
ABC. He didn't end the Ukraine war or solve Gaza within his first week, but he did end freedom of speech.
This is government censorship. This is the Trump administration coming after people who speak out against him.
Hey, for those of you who pray, now's the time to do it. Love you, Jimmy.
This is what authoritarianism looks like right now. In this country, it's happening.
It's weird the right, who's free speech, never known hate speech in their life, is suddenly getting people fired from their jobs and shows canceled.
This is the United States government silencing voices that they disagree with. Look, if they can come for Kimmel, they can come for anybody.
Comedians took to social media to share powerful thoughts and reactions to Jimmy Kimmel's show being abruptly pulled from air by Disney's ABC. The decision to pull the show came hours after Federal Communications Commission Chair Brendan Carr publicly pressured the company to punish Kimmel for recent comments he made about the reaction to Charlie Kirk's shooting death. Comedian Kathy Griffin wrote on Instagram, "Please take it from me. It is very important to have Jimmy Kimmel's back right now. Be vocal, be an ideological consumer. Money is all their crowd cares about." Comic actor Gene Smart shared a photo with Kimmel and wrote, "I'm horrified at the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel Live. What Jimmy said was free speech, not hate speech. People seem to only want to protect free speech when it suits their agenda. What is happening to our country?" Comedian and actor Mike Birbiglia posted a handwritten note saying, "I've spent a lot of time in public and private defending comedians I don't agree with. If you're a comedian and you don't call out the insanity of pulling Kimmel off the air, don't bother spouting off about free speech anymore." Comedian and writer Alex Edelman posted on X, "This is the actual cancel culture everyone claims to hate so much." Others appeared to celebrate the news. Comedian Terrence K. Williams posted a video appearing to laugh over Kimmel's dismissal. And comedian Steve Crowder shared a post on X with the news and simply wrote, "FAFO," which stands for F around and find out.
Looking at smell it. So as you sit here and get ready to go, I need to see the whole quotes. He said enough wild that his spirit is not in the right place.
Well,
you know, when the Ukrainian woman thing happened, he was actually really outraged by that as well. But he would start throwing out the statistics. Black people have this high crime rate.
You need to see the whole quote based on what you just heard about him saying about Jews.
Yeah.
You need to see the whole quote.
Because he says some Jewish communities. There are some Jewish communities that have
Isn't it funny?
issues.
He got issues with blacks, women, trans, anything from narcissists to racists to what's the other
Misogynist.
misogynist. I don't need to see the chunks in the milk. You can't smell it.
At its core, the podcast wasn't really about Kirk. It was about the larger ecosystem of extremism, how rhetoric metastasizes, how context is weaponized, and how gun irony never gets old until it does. Both Aries and Andy wrestled with the moral gymnastics of separating the man's assassination from the man's mouth, but they kept tripping over the same problem. Does context save a person, or just politely rephrase the ugliness? In the end, their tension became its own statement. Aries planted himself on the side of wrong is wrong, no need to dress it up. Andy argued for the possibility of nuance, even when the nuance smelled suspiciously like sour milk. And the audience? We sat back, uncomfortably entertained, reminded that politics, death, and humor are a messy threesome that nobody really wants to watch. Yet somehow, here we are.
Welcome to the We On podcast.
Al Green. Okay. I'm so in love with you. Oh, whatever you want to do. Shut the fuck up! Hey! What, Tony? It's all right with me. Uh-oh. 'Cause you.
Oh, thank you.
You need to leave? No, bitch.
Okay.
EYNY7.
black butt am I okay? Is your white butt okay?
Sit your $5 ass down.
Lay your ass down. Lay your ass down. Thank you, Rita. Sit down.
Look at that white goat. Oh, they are so cute. Oh, look, there's a black one. Black one?